Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 88 of the Cannonball Run from 1981, I think. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Lamborghini. Lamborghini is making available resources and equipment of its research and development department for the co-engineering and production of lung simulators to support SIARE Engineering International Group, the leading Italian pulmonary respirator manufacturer during the health emergency due to the spread of COVID-19. So thank you.
Topical.
Thank you, Lamborghini. Yeah. They said they were the first Italian automaker to shut down. They shut down March 13th before the government forced them to. So they were like a little bit on the cutting edge there.
Has anybody from Lamborghini tweeted, "Free America"? I'm just sad that Ferruccio Lamborghini, the founder of the company, did not live long enough to hear Too Fast, Too Forever, because I know that he would have loved it.
He would have. He definitely would have. That's true.
Well, here we are to talk about the Cannonball Run. This is Alex Elenin's Patron pick. So thank you, Alex, for that.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, I was actually inspired while we were separately watching the movie, while I was watching the movie last night.
Yeah.
Because I was reading the trivia about this. There is a sequel to it, the Cannonball Run 2.
True.
And I was making a list, like, even though we are going to, no joke, do another, 15 classic car movies, like, there's so many more that we're doing this lap. There's still beyond that so many more.
We're still doing 15 this lap?
So we have... I gotta cut these out because I can't bleep all these. Or maybe I'll bleep all of them. I don't know. So we have 11 more.
Damn.
We have 11 more classic car movies after this.
Jeez. Okay.
There's other stuff in there, and we got, a handful more fast movies. But yeah, it's like in addition to the 11 that we're still doing, there's another 15 that I kind of easily came up with, including Cannonball Run 2, including a sequel to a movie that we might be covering this lap that also stars the star of this movie, wink wink, hint hint.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's just so many out there. I don't know if they're going to be good. I do feel like if we go back to this there are still classics, absolutely stone cold classics that we are not covering that we will cover, we could cover. But a lot of these are going to be like, oh yeah, there's a car in that movie. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Before we talk about this movie, before we go any further, Joe, extracurricular activities. What have you been up to since we last recorded? What was our last episode? Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry.
One update thing that I was kind of hinting to you this morning when I was talking to you. I called my father and I told him we watched Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Oh my God, cool. Let's talk about it." So, what?
Good impression.
Yeah, so he was real amped about it. He's like, "Was that not the craziest ending ever?" And I was like, "You know how I know you didn't see Vanishing Point?" And he's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because it has pretty much the exact same ending." And he's like, "They run into a train too?" And I was like, "No, he doesn't run into a train, but it's he crashes the car at the end and dies." And that's the end, the last scene, the last end of the movie. He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, and if either of us had seen Vanishing Point or Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, because I told you guys at the beginning of this story that when I watched Vanishing Point, I was telling him, and he was like, "Did you watch Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry?" And if either of us had seen both of them, we would have known that you didn't see the other one when he says that this is the craziest ending ever. Yes. So we were laughing about that this morning. I told him we were watching Cannonball Run tonight, and he was all excited, and he said, "Oh, that's a great one, but are you guys going to watch the other one that we're doing that you said earlier?" And he said, "Are you doing that one?" I said, "No, I don't think so. I didn't think that we had 11 left." And I was like, "I think we're getting close to the end here, bud, but we'll save it for next time." And he was like, "Oh, damn, okay." He's like, "Just watch 5 minutes of it if you don't think this is so awesome in 5 minutes," which, I mean, this isn't a really good scale. I love them, but there's plenty of movies that, yeah. Okay, so he's like, just watch 5 minutes of it. I was like, okay. And then I called him back when I was driving home because I talked to you, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, we were definitely doing that movie coming up, so I'll talk to you about it after I watch it." And he's like, "Oh, great, that's my favorite one. I'm so excited." So he doesn't care. It's not like he's listening to this, right? He just wants to hear my reaction. He wants the tilder of the podcast the next day.
That's fair. He wants the after show. He wants talking too fast.
Yeah, he wants pillow talk. The 90 Day Fiancé does pillow talk, where they watch the episodes of other people on 90 Day Fiancé.
Oh boy, okay.
And do live commentary over the new episodes.
Interesting, okay.
With past guests. That was my one thing that I did. Two other cool things. Rachel got a Lego Batmobile, and she built
Yes,
that.
I saw that. I
It
saw a
was
picture
really
of that.
cool. And the other thing is, I want to tell you guys something. I'm gonna tell you a little secret, Joey.
Okay.
Haagen-Dazs came out with new soft dipped chocolate on chocolate bars. I'm just telling you, as long as you guys don't tell Rachel this, that they're fucking incredible.
Why
Okay?
can't Rachel know?
Because I told her that they sucked, so she wouldn't eat any of them.
Wait, so can you describe these gross things?
Absolutely disgusting, Rachel. You know, like any like Dove chocolate bar or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like that, except like instead of using like a hard shell, they use like this like weird ganache, kind of chewy and like very decadent, and it's just awesome. So I'm like all bonered about these, and they're great.
I'm googling Haagen-Dazs soft dip ice cream, introducing new soft
Yeah, they're
dip
brand
ice
new.
cream bars. Oh, so it's just like instead of like biting in like and feeling like you crack your tooth, it's softer.
Yeah, it's like like I said, like a ganache,
Okay.
it's like a thick like coating of chocolate, and it's somewhere like it's not hard, but it's not like melted chocolate because it's cold.
Fascinating.
So they're awesome. If you see a box when you're in the store next time, I highly recommend grabbing them. They're fucking great.
Very cool. Anything else? Any other trash TV updates or anything?
Oh yeah, dude, I actually have something really cool to tell you that I didn't tell you. So like, we love all this trash TV, right? And like one
Of
of Rachel's
course.
favorites is Bar Rescue, which you know how this goes, right? Have you ever watched
Sure.
it?
I wonder, is that one that's been in my parents' town? Continue. I will look it up.
Yeah, I'm sure it has because it's been everywhere. Okay, so there's like, the premise is like there's a guy, he comes in, he yells about a bar being dirty. They remodel the bar, he like saves a marriage, and like that's the story, right? Every episode, pretty much. The last episode that they did that was on, I actually recommend you should watch it. The bar was Marshawn Lynch's bar in like Oakland, right?
Oh, okay.
And it's like a bar that was like a tribute to like his friend that he lost, semi recently. And the bar is like tanking. The whole episode was just great because it was just like a ton of Marshawn Lynch just being hilarious, right? Like,
Rob Ben's bar.
yes, Rob Ben's bar. But he's just like very Marshawn Lynch, and like his like brother is a bartender, his cousin's a bartender, his like aunt's the cook, his other aunt's the manager.
You sound like Mona Lisa Vito. Like my brother's a mechanic, my father's a mechanic.
Yeah, but he comes in and he's like, because normally like the thing is like John Taffer will come in and he can like threaten to fire people. He can't threaten to fire anybody here, right? Like they're all like Marshawn Lynch's like cousins and family. So like the threat of him being like you have to like shape up. It's like, okay, cool, but like unless Marshawn fires me, like you can't fire me. You're not gonna find somebody to replace me. And like also I'm his cousin, so like it's not really that scary. It was a great episode. It was actually like one of the best episodes of Bar Rescue I've ever seen.
Oh, episode name Beast Rescue because he's beast mode. That's very cool.
Yeah. Oh, also like throughout the whole episode, it's just like it's all of his endorsements. Like he'll like walk in and like drink a Gatorade, right? Like and like set it in front of the thing. He's like it's just like so Marshawn Lynch. Like I don't want to spoil any of the other things, but like if you like Marshawn Lynch's antics as a player, Wells might not. I know Zach kind of likes him, even though he's a Niners fan. He's lovable, right?
Yeah, no, he's absolutely lovable. I think that he's one of the players that, like, unless he, like, directly fucks your team up, like, you can't not at least admire him.
To me, I really enjoy his antics, like the I'm
Yes.
only here not to get fined, and like I'm just gonna eat a pack of Skittles, and like he's a sellout, but it's like it's such a beautiful
Yeah.
business savvy sellout that he's like, if they want me to eat Skittles, I'll eat Skittles at every fucking press con. You know what I mean? Just because like
Yes.
pay me. So like I respect it so much that it's cool to watch him in this bar because he doesn't break, right? Like he's always this person. It's like the very realest person ever. It's a 20-minute, you know what I mean? Like Bar Rescue, I don't know, maybe like 20 or 40 without commercials. It's worth just that episode just to see Marshawn Lynch like laughing at his cousin doing dumb shit, and it's funny. So
I will watch it later.
it's cool. Yeah, it's like brain mush, but like I think that this is one that I can recommend to you that you'd be like, oh, that was fun.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. Actually, here's something, a nice little segue. Have you watched any of, I'm in the middle of episode 3. There are 4 out right now. Have you seen any of The Last Dance?
No, I've been meaning to, but like I don't know if I can make Rachel suffer through 10 hours of that, like even if it's 2 hours a week, but I've been really jonesing to.
So I don't want to say too much about it because I feel like you will watch it at some point.
I
and then
will.
Also,
I definitely
it's
will.
early on. So I watched all of OJ Made in America basically in
Yeah.
2 days. Like I waited for that to be over. This I'm just watching kind of as it goes on. Like I watched 2, I guess on Monday, and then I started the other one today. So I'm gonna finish that when we're done here.
Cool.
It's good. It's really good. I don't see like the full scope of it yet. So what it is,
Yes.
for those who don't know, it's about in the 90s, the Bulls had won 5 championships out of 7 years.
It was incredible. Do you remember this?
Yes, so I'll get to that in 1 second.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
they won 5 in 7 years. Michael Jordan was asked to leave for, there's any number of conspiracy theories, but like either just because they needed some other team to win, or because of gambling or whatever,
Gambling
that he
addict.
stepped away, or he just wanted to be like, I'm the best in the world. I'm gonna go try to play baseball. You can play baseball, whatever. So he walks away from the game for 2 years. The
Space
Rockets
Jam.
win. Yes, Yes, he makes Space Jam. He walks away. The Rockets win back-to-back championships. They come back. The Bulls win the next two. So they've won 5 of the last 7. Apparently, like the story of this is that they granted this camera crew incredible, unparalleled access to their locker room for the entire year.
Damn.
Because they had very publicly said Phil Jackson's not coming back. Scottie Pippen, like in the first episode, like, you know, is very unhappy. Michael wants like this huge raise. Like he's already getting paid more than anybody else, but he wants a huge raise. Like you find out the title even the first or second episode that like every year Phil Jackson put together like a booklet of like this is our basically our plan for the year, like what we like our goals, and he called this one The Last Dance. And so these 10 episodes, these 10 hours are just following the Bulls season, sort of.
Yeah, it's more of the people and stuff, yeah.
Episode 2 is all about Scottie Pippen. Episode 3, what I'm watching right now, is all about Dennis Rodman. And so it's offering, like, I knew about it, and spoiler, they win the championship. So, like, we all know how it ends.
Yeah.
No, and, like, it's really well made, and, like, it's very good. It's not as crazy, I don't think, as OJ, but, like, there's still I still have 7.5 hours to go. You know, like, there's a lot more that could happen. So growing up, my 2 best friends were both Magic fans, because I feel like every kid who didn't have, like, a basketball team in the 90s loved Shaq and Penny, or at least, you know, all my
Shaq,
friends did.
For sure, yeah.
They both loved Penny, and so, like, whenever we would play, like, basically, like, we would call it 2-on-2, but it would just, like, be me and one of them against ourselves. Like, we would just, like, play both sides of the ball, and they always wanted to be Penny, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll be Shaq, whatever. And, like, that turned out well, because Shaq is, like, one of the probably 5 or 10 best players of all time, and Penny's like, yeah, he was pretty good for a while.
Yeah.
You know, I was a Magic fan, I was kind of a Nets fan, but I remember because I was sort of following, because I didn't really care about basketball that much.
I agree, because we didn't have a basketball team, so, like, I was always out of the loop.
We had the Nets, but the Nets got good later. Like, the Nets were good, like, the late 90s. So, like, early and mid 90s, I was kind of a Magic fan, but I was more of, like, Yankees. Like, I cared more about baseball.
Same, but, like, not like that. I mean, like, I can relate.
Actually, side note, did you see that there's proposed realignment for the baseball season? And it's basically they're combining the AL and NL East, Central, and West, so there's just like 3 big divisions, but they're moving the Pirates to the East and they're moving the Braves to the Central, supposedly.
Perfect. No, I didn't see this.
So the rumor has it that they're going to be playing like a 100-game season. This is the current idea, at least.
Okay.
And I think you're only playing teams in your division, so they'll probably play the Yankees like 10 or 11 times, maybe.
What?
Maybe?
Really?
Maybe.
That'll be awesome, dude. That'd be really cool.
I don't know much more than that because I'm also still trying not to get my hopes up about baseball coming back, but like it's like the Yankees, Red Sox, Jays, Rays, and Orioles, and then it's the NL East, so it's like the Mets, Marlins, Phillies, Nationals, and Pirates. So they would be the only teams that you would play, I guess, for 100 games or whatever. So
we'll see
if that happens. So yeah, anyway, so in the 90s, I did not like Jordan because my friends didn't like him, and like I didn't have any connection to the Bulls, and I think he's too good. I'm gonna hate him, but in retrospect, I was like, I wish that I embraced him because, like, there's never going to be another one. Like, LeBron is amazing, and LeBron is maybe the second best player ever. You know, but, like, he's not Michael, right?
Yep.
Like, he's whatever.
Exactly.
And I'm trying to, like, appreciate and take in him, not at the end of his career by any stretch, but, like, close to the end of his career, and just trying to carry this goddamn team.
I think I can remember probably this season because my father, like I said, Pittsburgh never had a basketball team, so, like, we never watched basketball ever. But I remember, like, this being so big and so important. My dad and I were like watching these games, or my dad would be like, "Did you see what the fuck happened in this game last night on SportsCenter?" And would like be like, "Here, watch this," you know what I mean? And be like, "Look how crazy this was." But like I remember him watching the games, being like, "Damn, this is nuts." The only memories I have of basketball are Jordan, Pippen, and Dennis Rodman playing basketball like that season.
Scottie Pippen's out for the first 3 months. Like, he was basically way underpaid. I know I'm not going to get too far into it, but like he was way underpaid, so he elected to wait for the season to start to have surgery, and so he was out for a while, and like he demanded a trade. Like, there's all this crazy stuff. So like when you watch it at some point, but they're currently airing 2 episodes per Sunday night on ESPN.
Yep.
It's kind of like Hard Knocks, where it's like the unedited, uncensored. There's not that much swearing, and that's on ESPN, and I think they're airing the censored version on ESPN too. So just make sure that if you're watching live or you're TiVoing or whatever, grab the right one.
The one that you want, yeah.
Yes. Because like the first time, I don't know if I told you this, but like the first time I ever watched Hard Knocks, I recorded it because I forgot it premiered, so I just grabbed it at like 7 o'clock the next night. I was like, wait, why is it bleeped? Like, I thought this is the whole point, was like the raw look. And it's like, oh no, I just grabbed the wrong one. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So there's 10 hours. So there's been 6 out when this comes out, and then there's 2 this upcoming Sunday, and then 2 the Sunday after that. So I think if you like basketball, if you like just sports narratives, if you're just looking for like a good documentary,
Michael Jordan,
like,
you know what I mean? People like Michael Jordan and don't like basketball and shit, so
Yeah. And then the only other thing that I want to talk about is I finally, not finally, because it just came out, but we talked about a little bit last episode, is I watched the Beastie Boys doc, the Beastie Boys story.
And go ahead, tell me what you think.
I loved it. I mean, of course I loved it.
Yeah,
Here's my biggest takeaway, and this is sort of a relief, is that they recorded, I'm sure, at least a couple shows, right? But like what
yes.
they recorded would have been the show that I was at. It would have been cool to be there, but I don't regret not going, if that makes sense.
I don't either, honestly. It was very cool as a live experience, but I think that they captured everything that you saw very well.
Right.
And it probably even played better on film than it did live. If there's any flubs or anything like that, like that'd be like, oh yeah, remember he like messed this line up or something.
In the credits, I don't know, did you watch the credits since I talked to you about them or no?
No, I haven't had a chance to.
So there's like 12 minutes of kind of like some bloopers like that and some like bonus skits and stuff. And like there were people in the crowd, like David Cross was there one night and Steve Buscemi was there one night
That's
and
cool.
maybe Ben Stiller was there one night. Someone. And they all asked basically the same question. Yeah, like I loved it. I'm glad that I got to see it, but I'm not like, especially considering it's like $100. Like I would have liked to see them. I don't regret not going, but again, sort of just the same thing. Like if you like sports, watch The Last Dance. If you like music or the Beastie Boys or documentaries
Dude,
or rap or whatever, get the Apple TV trial or just pay for a month and just watch this thing.
dude, there was a point in the beginning where they talk about who their, I'm not going to spoil it. They talk about who their NYU friend was. And when they said his name, I was just like, or like my brain just exploded to be like, oh, fuck, I totally forgot he's involved in all of this shit, right?
Yeah.
Like when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, it was like when I was watching the Dr. Dre one.
The Defiant ones.
Remember when they were like, Jimmy Iovine's like, yeah, and Stevie Nicks was my girlfriend living in my basement. And I was
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like, I totally didn't even think about this.
Yes.
So,
The best moment I think of the entire thing. I'm not gonna bleep. It's just like if
what?
you
Go ahead.
don't want it to be spoiled, skip ahead a little bit. But like when Ad Rock is talking about MCA, like he like gets like it's sort of like '90s like teacher just like turns a chair around. It's like I'm gonna get real with you, but like he just sits on the edge of the stage and then he goes and sits next to Mike D. Just turns. He's like, you got to finish. Just I can't. Like he's like about to like he's like
Yeah.
choking back tears, but he's just like I can't say this. And then they finish. Like it's just there's such emotion there. And like what I loved about this, and I mentioned this last episode, is that like MCA was my favorite. And like I know that they're kind of maybe to a certain extent that like because he's not there, they're not taking any shots. Like they're not making like they're
True.
joking about themselves, right? But like
Yeah.
everything they say about him, and maybe this is true, and maybe they didn't want to joke about him, but like they're putting him on such a pedestal. But like he just seemed amazing.
Yeah.
Like just talking about how like he just came up with the baseline for Sabotage and just like what is that? It's like, oh, it's just something I wrote. It's like, wait, how, what? And then like him, doing the free to bed stuff and just like everything that MCA did.
Very cool.
I was like, this
Yep.
is just amazing. Like it's so cool to be like a fan of like theirs and especially of his, and like man, oh man, like I just had such a good time watching it, and I can't recommend that highly enough.
Good. Yeah, I agree with you, brother. It was awesome. I loved it. I loved all the like the nuance to it. There's like a lot of cool edits and stuff like that, behind the scenes kind of stuff that I liked. It was a great story. They seemed pretty honest about it too, right? Like they didn't seem to cover too much shit up. They didn't paint themselves in a great light.
No, because like they talk about how like the first one was so amazing, and like the License to Ill was such a huge deal, and then they just kind of became what they didn't want to become, and then the second album just tanked, and like it was
Yeah.
tough for a while. Like going back, because I didn't really know, like I knew some of it, but I didn't know all of it, and like I know
Same.
now, like Paul's Boutique is my favorite album, and it's like I had no idea that it flopped as hard as it did. Like I was just like, how could this flop? Because it's amazing, but
Yeah.
didn't do well.
I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad
Yeah.
you watched it.
Yeah, so that's on Apple TV Plus, I think it's called. So either get
Yeah.
the trial, or if you have the year, if you bought like an iPhone or something last year, just pay $5 for the month and just watch that.
It's worth the $5 for that alone, I think.
Yeah.
I'd pay $5 to watch that.
Any other extracurriculars that you've been up to?
No, I laid it all out. That's all I got.
Well, we have a Patreon here on the show, toofast2forever.com. I actually totally forgot. I think we mentioned it on the show. This is what we talked about a little bit a couple days ago,
What?
but like I forgot that we bought the domain 2f2f.family, which is just very funny. But I got the email that like both those domains are up for renewal, and like the family domain is like, even though people are paying us on
Significantly
Patreon, it's just
more?
like I can't, like it's not like it's a funny joke, but like I'm not paying $24 a year to have a domain that we don't use.
It was funny to us for the time that we had it, though.
But anyway, shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Elenin, Justin Kleiman, and Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party. For supporting us on Patreon. No, not yet. No spoilers.
Fuck, okay.
If you want swag and merchandise, if you want stickers, early access to episodes. So here's another thing. I don't know how to say this because it's something I message to you, but it was in the middle of one of your hell days and you didn't respond, and I don't know if you even read it. I want to
What?
say it, but I don't know. There's an upcoming perk that I have an idea for, and it's a voting thing. And what I want to do as part of the 100th episode, and I'm going to bleep this part. There's so many bleeps. Like, this bleep technology is going to be all over this episode. But I
Okay, go
want
ahead.
to open 2F2F.
Oh yeah, we talked about this. I like it.
What I want to do is open it to the public and have people vote, but I want patron votes to count more.
Like you get like 10.
I don't know. We got to figure out the math of it all.
How about we just separate it? We just do 2.
I don't want to have separate halls. I mean, we'll see how that goes. But like, there's
Okay.
perks that aren't even perks yet because they don't exist yet. But stickers, access to the Fast and Furious Minute document, early access to the intro episodes, our Undying Love and Affection, all of that at toofast2forever.com. Plus this weirdly vague perk that's coming up on the 100th episode. You'll see what's going on then. But Joe, we also have an email address here on the show, family@cageclub.me, and we've got like 7-ish kind of emails.
Interesting. Okay, 7? Damn.
So the first one is from Hector, and it is a car picture. So he says, "Hey Joey's got another car pic for you, and I will save that for later." So Hector, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including 3 from Hector.
Wow.
We'll get to it. We will get to it, but
We will. We might have to speed it up soon. Like, not tonight, but we might have to speed it up soon.
Nos
We could
boost.
do a couple bonus ones. Yeah.
Okay, so that's one. So then Wes caught up, and he sent in 2 emails that span 3 episodes. But I kind of like the idea of closing with him. You know, we've joked about him being the closer because it's so
Okay.
detail oriented. So skip him for now. So now,
Okay.
next email also from Hector. Subject line: thanks. It says, "Hey guys, just heard the Death Proof episode and just want to tell Justin, thank you, my bro." This is him talking about how like hearing Hector being so into cars made him happy.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Hector says, "Hopefully you get through this shitty virus and shit. Sending prayers for you and your wife. That's all I want to say. Stay fast, stay furious."
Look at this. Look at this cute little family, man.
Yeah.
Warms my heart every time. It
Yeah.
does.
Love it. I love it.
Same. Like, you guys make us so happy. Thank you.
Our next email is from Ben Milliman, who emailed this last episode. He just says, "Is Han in Crossroads?" So he says, "So I watched the trailer for the FNF game Crossroads, which as of right now is still supposed to come out, I think, at the end of May. I think.
Yes, we talked about this.
We're going to cover it in some way. We've talked about this. I don't know how because I don't know when it's actually coming out. Like once I don't think you're going to buy a video game, but like once I at least have it, we can figure out how to talk about it.
Yeah, you could Twitch some for me
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do something.
So he says, "I watched the trailer for Crossroads. I noticed in one of the scenes, Letty says, 'You're doing this for revenge. We're doing it for justice.' He says, 'The only thing I know in FNF that has to do with justice is Han.' So I watched the trailer a couple more times, checked the websites, and rewatched the F9 trailer. Found out that in the game, the heroes are Dom, Letty, and Roman. If you go to the Crossroads website and go to the heroes options, it shows in this order Letty, Dom, and Roman. In the F9 trailer, when Han shows back up with the family, you see him in the same order. Letty first, then Dom, then Roman. They don't focus on anyone else's faces in that scene. Does this mean Letty, Dom, and Roman know that Han is alive because they find and or save him in Crossroads?" He says, "I might be
Oh
putting
my
too much
God.
thought into this, but I really want to play the game and find out. What do you guys think?"
Dude, now that the movie's pushed back, that will be an excellent bridge. If you get to a point in the game where the storyline starts to get too good, then I'm gonna have to buy and play this game.
Yep.
So I mean, I'll leave it in your hands. We could definitely talk about it. Hey man, I'm with you. We watched Breaking Bad. We know how they like to feed you the things. If you had any writer with any creativity, I think you just cracked the whole fucking case open. It sounds perfect to me. I'm with you. I hope that you're right, Ben.
The game was supposed to come out. I think the game got delayed. I don't remember the exact timeline. I think the game was always supposed to come out a little before the movie. Maybe the game got delayed. I don't know, but I wonder if it was supposed to be like a tie-in with the game or in with the movie, and they sort of spoil things. I'm very curious. Like I think
Yeah, I am
everything that
too.
Ben's laying out could be
True.
I'm just, it's I don't know. I'm very curious to see. I just hope the game is good. Even if the game is bad, if like the cutscenes are cool, I'm
Same.
okay with that too.
Totally fine with it.
Yes. So Ben, thank you for that. I mean, I have not. I think I maybe watched one trailer for the game like a long time ago, but it's on our docket. We're gonna get to it at some point in some fashion. But yeah, we'll see. Very interesting.
Cool.
Our next email. This is what I screenshotted to you last night. Even though I don't
Yes.
think I'm kind of bummed that I ruined the surprise, but I know that she messages on Facebook a lot, and I didn't want to have you learn in another way as opposed to from the horse's mouth, me
Yeah.
being the horse. New $10 patron, meet Haley Gerby. So thank you, Haley, so much for supporting us on Patreon. So Haley, like I messaged you on Facebook, you get 2 picks next lap. It's the Brian Rodriguez quoted quarantine special, buy one, get one free.
Yes, it is awesome. I already talked to Haley, and she's having a great day. She just sent me a picture of Mike and Ike's, so her day is going flawlessly, apparently.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, like just minutes ago, like as we were recording, I saw that I got a message from her. So, yeah, thanks, Haley. We appreciate it. I love getting messages from you. We bullshit all the time, so keep sending them. I'll respond.
Actually, so here's the thing. So I was saying that I
What?
want to have, because we had the four horsemen, and then Brian became the fifth, and now we have six of the $10 tier. And I was saying I can't wait to have the Gallo 12. I mean, we have 11 patrons. So whoever joins next forms our Gallo 12 in total, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
12 patrons. So if you want to join us, too fast, tooforever.com. Join the Gallo 12, immortalized. There might have to be some kind of commemorative swag or something for the Gallo 12. I don't know.
No, I have no idea, but I'm down. God, I want to fucking. I want so much swag. I really
I know.
do.
Our next email is from Jason Dickinson. Feel the speed, feel the rush. And he's just letting us know in this email, I think he also sent it to Facebook, that on this day in 2011, on this day that we're recording, Wednesday, April 29th in 2011,
Ooh.
Fast 5 came out.
Nice. Well, happy anniversary, Fast Five.
The first one I ever saw, but not in theaters, of course.
Yeah, it was a great pivot point. That
Yeah.
was it, man.
Yeah.
So thank you, Fast Five.
That's all it took. All right, our last two emails, like I said, both from Wes Hampton. Subject line of the first one, Vanishing Point and Death Proof. What up, fam?
What up, Wes? What's up, brother?
He says, last week were both great episodes. I still haven't seen Vanishing Point, but Mrs. West and I love Death Proof. I had no idea there were two different cuts, but I guess the longer one is the one we're more familiar with. We saw it at least once in theaters as part of Grindhouse, but we've seen it many times on Blu-ray, just by the longer cut. Anyway, here are my new episode observations.
Okay.
I think I was reading a bit too much into it when I said Keanu was the original choice for the director of Etion. I found an article in which the director cleared it up. Basically, he really wanted to find a role for Keanu and had some meetings with him on the project, but ultimately, they wanted to give him something with more meat to it, and it couldn't find anything that really fit. However, the door is still open for him to join in a later movie. So it seems like maybe they wanted him to be the director, but the director's role in the first movie was so small, it didn't make sense to put him there.
That makes sense.
That doesn't mean he won't be brought in to play the director when we finally see who it is, and the character's a little more real.
That's really good clarity, to be honest.
I think to a certain extent, like I remember reading that. I think we even maybe mentioned that on one of the pods at some point. When you get Keanu Reeves, I think it's different from getting, even though he's still a huge star, it's different than getting like a Ryan Reynolds or a Kevin Hart or whatever, where
Yeah.
it's like they're on screen for 5 or 10 minutes, but like you know that you want more. Like Keanu is bigger than the two. Like they're both huge, but Keanu
Yeah,
in terms of whatever is
agree.
bigger, and you don't want to do that even if they're going to say like, hey, you're coming back next movie. They want to have him probably like the size of the Brixton role or whatever, right? So like whether good
I
or
agree.
bad,
Yep.
you don't want to undercut Keanu.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Can you imagine? Like, actually, I think we'd be a little disappointed if like Keanu would have just been like he would have like turned the chair around and it would have been him at the end. I mean, like we would have been amped, but it would have
Well,
been like,
I mean,
why the fuck?
We talked about, was it in an email or was it with someone? But we were talking about Jason Statham supposed to be in, or maybe it was Brian, that Statham was supposed to be the villain in 6 and they couldn't get it to work out, and so they got
Yes.
the other guy instead, and then
Yes.
that's when they had Statham show up at the end. When Statham showed up in the credits, I lost my goddamn mind. Like I didn't think about it as like a missed opportunity. I was like, oh, this is going to be incredible in the next movie. So like I think if
Yeah,
the
huge.
movie ended, Keanu turns around in the chair, I'd be like, fuck yeah. Like I wouldn't think of it as a negative at all. I'd be like, yes, the next one is going to be even better.
Yeah, that's fair.
He says, you guys brought up folding at home, and I got such a weird wave of nostalgia. I know you're Xbox fans, but the PS3 originally came with folding at home installed, and I remember them
cool.
really pushing people to run it when they weren't playing anything on the system. I used to have mine set up to run if the PS3 sat idle. It would show a graphical representation of whatever protein it was working on, like a screensaver. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah, folding at home, really cool. I enjoy that. I didn't know about the PlayStation 3 part of it. That's really cool.
I feel like maybe, I mean, I had a PS3.
I had a Slim.
I think I had the Slim. Maybe it was the Slim? I don't know.
Yeah, the second one that came out. I think I
Yeah.
got one because they like dropped their pants on him for a little bit, and I was like, oh, this sounds like a fun idea. I definitely played a bunch of it, like FIFA. You know what I mean? Like something really mindless. But yeah,
I probably saw folding at home on there, but didn't know what it was and never clicked on it. And I was like, all right, whatever.
turn off my notifications, send to Apple or whatever. Like,
He says, Justin's guitar story was so weird and great. I could definitely imagine that happening around here as well, about the homeless man or the drunk guy or whatever coming up and just
Yeah.
asking for a guitar tuner and then being like, hey, can you do
tune
this
this.
for me?
Yeah. I love that story. That's a really good one.
Says, I don't know why I wrote down a note about what we do in the shadows, but the movie's so good, the show is maybe even better. I don't know if it's a hot take, but it's legitimately one of my favorite shows on TV right now.
Ooh.
Season 2 so far has been as good or better than Season 1. Have you seen the movie or the show?
Neither. Or wait, what's it about?
It's like a vampire parody, kind of. It's like
Oh, you know what? I heard I saw something about the show, and Rachel wanted to watch it, but I didn't. I don't think I've seen the movie either.
the movie's incredible. The movie came first. It was coming out like 5 or 6 years ago, probably. And
Yeah.
then season 2 of the show is on right now. Season 1 was last year. I'm not a huge fan of the show. Maybe I'm just not into it when I'm watching it. Maybe it's one of those things where, like, if I rewatched it from the beginning, I'd be more on board. I don't know if I needed more. You know what I mean? But they had one episode in the first season where they talked about there's the Vampire Council, and they bring in vampires from like all different movies, and they talk about
Oh,
how like
nice.
Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise from Interview with the Vampire, just like they're too famous or too important to be here or whatever. They have Wesley Snipes as Blade, but like dialing in remotely, like via Skype, and they have all sorts of like it's a very cool episode.
That's cool. I like that.
I'm right there with you, Wes, on the movie. I don't dislike the show. I'm still watching it, but I just don't love the movie or love the show the way I love the movie.
Makes sense.
Wes says you mentioned the cops from Death Proof being from Kill Bill, but did you know they originated in From Dusk Till Dawn, the older cop, and the sequel, the younger cop? They play father and son characters, and the actors are also real life father and son. I remember that being a little Easter egg from
Weird.
Kill Bill.
Weird. I feel like I know this story for some reason. Like you just scratched a weird itch in my brain that I was like, this sounds familiar, but I don't know why or where I heard it from.
So that was, I think, for sure in the trivia that I cut out because there's just so much trivia about every Tarantino
Oh,
movie
okay.
that I didn't cut out. Because I saw the first one, and currently, as we're recording this, From Dusk Till Dawn is battling for its life against Bad Boys in our action bracket. From Dusk Till Dawn's great. I've never seen the second one. I will say, and here's a little bit of Kill Bill trivia that you might know, Wes, and Joe, you might know. But in the beginning, it's Michael Parks and his son. I don't remember his son's name. John, maybe? I don't know. But they're the cop, the father-son cop duo, whatever. But Michael
Okay.
Parks, the older one, also plays Esteban Vejeo at the end of Kill Bill 2. Do you remember that, like, South American pimp that she goes to see?
Yes.
That
Yes,
actor
I
is
do
the
remember
same
that.
actor as the older cop,
Ah, okay, cool.
where he's like, only on the condition that you call me Esteban.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he like cut the one girl's tongue out or lip open or something.
Yes.
I remember this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That guy, same actor. So all sorts of little trivia and Easter eggs there.
Nice.
He says the bar they go to after Guero's at the beginning of Death Proof is the Texas Chili Parlor, although only the interior was shot there. The porch is somewhere else. Believe it or not, we've never been, but I hope it survives the pandemic or I'll be kicking myself.
Yeah, man. Like Joey was saying, you know, you take a lot of these things for granted. Like you're like, we'll go there eventually. It's like, no, dude. Like I want to fucking go.
Yeah.
There. It's a cool looking bar too. That's like a bar that like I would love to hang out in, right? Like I could spend a full day drinking beers there and just be like a happy boy.
And here's another little bit of Austin trivia. You mentioned they drove past the Ritz on 6th, but at the time it wasn't an Alamo Draft House yet. Alamo didn't take over and open Ritz until a few months after Grindhouse was released. Oh, I didn't know that it was. I guess it was just
Very
the Ritz.
cool.
I didn't know that they co-opted it. That's very cool.
Very cool.
He says, while I was typing this and thinking about the movie, something else just popped into my head. I think Mrs. West saw them filming part of this one day. Everyone knew Tarantino and Rodriguez were working on a new project in Austin while it was filming, but we didn't know what it was exactly. Mrs. West used to work in Westlake off 360. This is a two-lane highway with a wide, grassy median through rolling hills for listeners not from here. I used to work on 360. My sister lives off 360. I know 360 very well, but
I've probably driven it.
local Austin reference. He says, I started to write what I remembered of her story, but I just messaged her about it, so I'll copy her message instead. So this is
Cool.
now, I guess, the first time that Mrs. West is
Wrote
writing a
in.
podcast. Yes.
Yeah, I'll count it. I'm gonna count it.
It was the yellow and black Mustang from the beginning. It was on the side of 360 up on that tow rig for filming driving scenes, and he was walking around the outside of the trailer slash rig, whatever it's called, like framing shots. I did a U-turn further up, and when I made it back past them, they were driving, I assume, filming. I totally forgot until you brought it up. Yeah, I was hoping to see him more around town during that, but it just happened coming home from work like a normal thing.
That's still super cool.
Yeah,
Can you
very
imagine just
cool.
seeing Tarantino just like pointing and yelling at the stupid car or something? I can imagine him yelling at the car. That's what I'm visualizing. Him being like, "What fuck?" and like pointing and just yelling.
You know, Tarantino's not from Austin. I think Tarantino just goes wherever his movie's taken. But Robert Rodriguez, I think, is based in Austin. I remember, I don't know if you'll remember, but a couple episodes ago, or who knows, time is weird. I was talking about Airport Boulevard and how the airport moved
Yes.
in Austin.
Yes,
So
yes.
near Airport Boulevard, there is like this whole shopping center kind of thing that now is apartments, and there's now an Alamo there. It's
Okay.
and it's near where my sister and I used to live down there, and it was Very cool. And in that whole development was, I think, Troublemaker Studios, or like at least Robert Rodriguez had a production studio
Ah.
there. I don't know where, but like he's definitely got a whole big base of operations like 5 minutes from where I was living. So I never
That's
saw him
very
there,
cool.
but like I was right there.
Very cool. I'm sure he was around somewhere.
Oh, for sure. He says, Wes says, anyway, that should be more than enough for me this week. Well, we got more coming up, so not enough. Not enough, Wes.
There's never enough, Wes.
Yes, looking forward to the live stream this Sunday, which will have already passed by the time this comes out. As I mentioned, I have no plans. Until next time, stay furious, Wes.
I'm stoked for the live stream. It's gonna be a good time. I
It
mean,
was a good
it
time.
it was a great time. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next email, F6, what up, fam?
What up, Wes?
The F6 episode was a wild ride. As always, Brian's a fun guest. I love Letty's car in the movie, and I even sent it in the early days of Dude, What's My Car? I think Joe wasn't even familiar with the manufacturer back then. How far you've come from not knowing the car to being so big that they'll sponsor you, even though they went out of business 9 years ago. I only have a couple things today.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad Wes gets it.
Yeah,
Just,
Wes gets it.
he
You
does.
mentioned the movie War, that has Jason Statham, Sung Kang, Devin Aoki, and Brian Ho. I've been tracking Jason Statham's movies to try to see them all. He's done some really good movies and a bunch of very bland and forgettable ones. This is one of the forgettable ones. I only remember Statham and Jet Li. I was just as surprised as you that Sung Kang and Devin Aoki were in it.
Damn. That has to be really bad then or something, right? Like if you don't remember Suki and Han are in this movie, like
I mean, it depends on when you saw it, I guess, but like, we're gonna watch it at some point.
we will.
And
Yeah.
we're going to enjoy it for the fast connections. I think what Wes is doing to a certain extent is what Mike and I are doing for the different, and what you and I have done, watching movies for certain actors. And it's like if they're not good in it or they're not interesting or whatever, you're kind of down on the movie.
Yep.
And this movie
Yep.
might not be good, but like what we've proven in the Fast Connections thing is that even when a movie's not good, we can find goofy shit to like point out and be like, oh, that's cool.
Yep, I agree.
Like we can be like, why is Han doing that? Why is Suki doing that?
Yeah.
He says, you also asked about the timeline in regards to Baby Jack. I always get hung up on timelines in movies and shows, and I think I've written about this one before, so I won't go into the whole thing, but the timeline for these movies, as you know, is wildly inconsistent.
Yeah,
He says
we
if you
talked
go on the
about this.
FNF Wiki, there's actually a whole forum discussion about how to best establish a timeline. Basically, two schools of thought, marking time by the relative baby ages, or marking time based on the model years of cars. He says a movie can't be set before the release year of the newest model car in it. Predictably, these two things rarely line up, and I don't think that they particularly care. I believe the only concrete date we have in 9 movies is that his F4 is set in 2009 based on Letty's Tombstone. That's it for this
Exactly.
week. Until next time, stay furious.
Thanks, Wes. You know, we're just playing around trying to pin down the timeline, but I do think that they do not care. There's like they don't even need to establish it. Like once 3 was like retro, like they don't care.
We for sure have talked about how the timelines are crazy inconsistent and not very helpful and retrofitted and whatever. I don't
Yeah.
really care when the beginning of 6 is. I'm just more curious, at least in the conversation we were having, about how much time basically elapsed over the opening credits. Like whether it was
Yeah.
supposed to be instantaneous or whether it was actually, 6 months or whatever. Not that it matters, but I'm just, I was curious in that regard.
Same, yeah.
That's all the emails for today, so thank you all so much for writing in. If you want to write in, family@cageclub.me, let us know what's going on. Check out our Patreon page, of course. Join the Gallo 12. Be immortalized forever. Be a part of our Gallo 12. Cool. All right, on the streets, Joe. News about the Fast and Furious. I have one thing here, and this is from today, and
Tell
this
me.
will have been old news by the time this comes out, but since Universal, NBC Universal,
Yeah.
Patrol's World Tour out on home video,
Yes.
basically skirted theaters.
Yep.
AMC Theaters, who, by the way, is $4 billion in debt, not an exaggeration, literally $4 billion in debt, has said they are not going to play any Universal movies in any AMC movie theater.
So-
if that holds true,
Go ahead. Yeah.
F9 will not be in the nation's largest movie chain.
Yeah, I got the same news from a couple different friends, a couple different friend groups. Like, they let me know about this. Just, movie wise, right? Like, they were talking about a movie. And I was like, this is fucking hilarious. Because let's see how long that stays when Fast 9 comes out. Like, they're not going to want the biggest
Or the
movie
Jurassic
in the world.
World sequels. Like, there's so many movies that Universal will make $1 billion on. So here's the thing. When movie theaters reopen, and by the time this episode comes out, unfortunately, there will be movie theaters that have reopened in the US, which is way too soon.
Yeah.
Things that I've heard rumored about is that they're only going to allow every other row seating, and then in those rows that they have on, only like every third seating or something like that, right? So like instead of being
Yeah.
able to seat 120 people, you're maybe at like
40.
20.
Yeah.
We were talking about this today when we talked about the news that like operating expense is close to 100%, or say
Yeah.
75% because you need maybe slightly fewer employees there. The revenue is at most 20%, and that's if they sell out those 20%. And like people are going to want to go back to the movies because people are going to be like, this was all a hoax, whatever, I'm going to go back and resume my normal life. But I think that the people who aren't that dumb, but are still kind of like dumb enough or whatever, or like antsy enough to go out, aren't going to go out this weekend or next weekend or whatever to the movie
Nope.
theater. They're going to go to like a park, or they're going to go to like somewhere else. Like they're going to try to do a restaurant or something, right? Like it's not going to be
Bar.
movie
Bar.
theaters. Yeah.
It's definitely not going to be movie theaters. I do like the imagery of like, I don't know. I like everything about this. I like that AMC, like the theaters are trying to strong arm the movie industry when streaming is like completely taking over. It's hilarious to me. And I also like these things being like, yeah, we should open these businesses back up. And it's like, a restaurant can't fully staff like a wait staff in a
Right.
kitchen
Yeah.
if you're gonna have like 4 tables that you could sit at.
Yeah.
People like to say shit, and the practicality of it happening is vastly different, and that's something I deal with every day. So yeah.
Yeah. And also today, and they made very clear, they were very clear and they were very sure about this being temporary, but the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, aka the group that awards Oscars,
Yes.
said movies that debut on streaming platforms this year will be eligible for Oscars. Like they're
that
basically
makes
for
sense.
1 year waiving the
There's
reason.
some kind of rule. I
Yes.
remember.
The reason that like Roma or what was
Irishman.
the Irishman, like the reason that those movies go to a theater for like 2 weeks is like to make a little bit of money, but just to fit into this like arcane old rule that like movies have to be in theaters. This year they're just saying because basically the world fell apart or the world is on pause or however you want to phrase it, that you no longer have to be in theaters to be qualified. Couple AMC being like, hey, we're $4 billion in debt, but still we're gonna like spurn one of like the three or four biggest, you know what I mean? And then
Yep.
like, oh, by the way, Disney, who owns everything, by the way, has its own delivery like distribution platform. Like,
Yep.
what's to stop them from being like, okay, cool, like Disney Plus, if you are a Disney Plus subscriber, you get a half off discount for like whatever, right? But like, so it's a $20 rental if you're not, or a $10 rental if you are. And like, by the way, whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it's going to disrupt everything. And meanwhile, AMC
I
is
love
like,
it.
whatever. And then the Oscars, like everything is going to change. So many things are going to be disrupted. But yeah, AMC, like I love you. I mean, I don't
AMC's
love
big
you.
dick in it. They're just big dick in it over here. I love, like that's what I'm saying. Everything about this is hilarious to me. Like you're in no position to like
No.
do this.
No,
So
it's going to get undone. But it's insane. It is insane.
I wonder
So,
what. Now I want to know like what asshole has to backtrack this, right? Like that's my favorite part of this, right? Like what's gonna be the like, oh no, we made like a deal or something like that. They're gonna have to like come off like they still won this somehow.
Yes.
But like they just open their mouths so stupidly. They need to be like, oh yeah, like sorry, like that wasn't. We love Universal at AMC and like they're great, and here's us shaking hands again. And
yeah. Did you find any news about the Fast and Furious or the related
Nah.
topics? So then I'm going to do Rock the Vote. I'm going to search The Rock President on Google News and see there's a bunch of news, but nothing about The Rock himself.
okay.
Again, just the Jim Ross said The Rock would win, and I'm going to search Dwayne Johnson president. Jesse Ventura is teasing a presidential run for 2020. Please let it happen.
I know, right?
And yeah, nothing else.
Poor The Rock. We wanted you, brother. He had my vote.
4 years from now, that's where it's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
What if The Rock runs against Kanye? Then I have to decide between the two.
I thought 2020 he was going to run the whole election.
Rock Kanye ticket with Kanye being the vice president, so it's like not as dangerous.
I don't know. I don't.
Dwayne Johnson's in great health. We don't have anything to worry about with The Rock, right? Like he's
Right.
gonna be around. So
Yeah. All right, so that's that. So the only other thing we have to do before we take a break is the Fast and the Furious minute 55, a minute I called. Are you going native on me, Brian?
What we have is probable cause. And truckers arming themselves for some good old-fashioned vigilante mayhem.
Tell us about Hector, Brian.
Latinos with spear guns, give me a break.
No, Hector's still working on the engines for the cars, but the tires don't match. Will somebody just give me a cigarette?
Get him a cigarette.
Don't get him a cigarette. But you quit.
Yeah, I did quit. Just give me a cigarette.
Get him a cigarette.
No! Tell me about Toretto.
Well, I told you, I think he's too controlled for this. What, going suicidal on semi-trucks? No way. I mean, maybe his buddy Vince, but he's too stupid to pull it off.
I think the kid's sister's blurring your vision.
What'd you say?
I don't blame you. I'd get off on her surveillance photos too, buddy. Oh!
Knock it off! What, are you going native on me, Brian? Have you read Toretto's file lately?
Yeah, I memorized that.
Yeah, well, read it again.
So in this minute,
Oh.
Brian continues to share his findings with Bilkins, Tanner, and Muse. Brian asks for a cigarette, but Tanner won't let Muse give him one. Muse talks about how attractive Mia is, so Brian attacks him. Then Bilkins and Tanner break up the fight. So minute 55, first of all, do you like the title, or do you have a better title for this one?
Best title.
Cool.
I always thought that he said, "Are you going NATO on me, Brian?"
Okay.
And when I read it, I was like, interesting, and then I listened to it. It's definitely native, so.
I guess it's either meaning like, in a racist sense, it could be like, Native American sort of, but like, I don't know.
Yes.
But like, I think more realistically, it's like, are you becoming more, and this is a legitimate threat and a legitimate fear that they have, are you becoming too close to the people that you're with? Like, are
Yes.
you siding
In too
with them
deep.
over us?
Are you a townie?
My big takeaway from this minute is we just talked about in Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry about how they didn't wear seatbelts and like why do they show that on screen? Like just wear a seatbelt, and then we're talking about like smoking cigarettes, and I completely
Yes.
forgot that Brian, I guess at some point was or is a smoker, and I think it's very funny that Tanner is basically like Brian's dad, like no. You're not smoking. You stop it. You stop it right there.
Those are the worst kind of friends, by the way. Like, every time you're like, okay, like, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette, they're like, I thought you quit. You're like, yeah, 10 years ago, this is the first cigarette I've had in a decade. Like, it's not like I'm instantly gonna go buy a pack. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're like, okay, I smoked one. Cool. There it goes. Done.
I also think that like Bilkins is being a really bad example there. He's just like puffing
Smoking
away on a
cigars.
cigar, right? So
Yeah.
like,
In the house, too. What an asshole.
I know in a
Like,
house
you'll never
filled
get
with
that
like evidence and other people and paperwork and like
In
I
the
don't-
kitchen.
Yeah.
There's like food there. There's donuts open on the
Yeah.
counter. What an asshole.
And I do want to. I made a correction in the Fast and Furious minute document again. Patreon benefit, Patreon exclusive benefit. I thought it was unlit because like last minute it's not smoking and then now it is smoking. So who knows?
It is. Clear, it's probably like he just lit it for like the one scene that's on his face, right?
Yeah.
Like the one shot that's on his face. He probably doesn't smoke cigars. He's like, I'm not smoking. It's actually probably for continuity too, like so the cigar doesn't just like shrink.
Yes.
They're like realigning everything.
Or that they're not using like 12 cigars for like the same scene.
Yeah, exactly.
And my other really big takeaway here is that Muse, like, I feel like this movie being from 2001, a lot of people come off a little bit racist, where, like, back then it's like, oh, it's not so bad, it's just how people talk. But in retrospect, Muse, especially this minute, comes off very badly because he says, Latinos with spear guns, give me a break. He's just like, ugh, like, just those people with their toys. Like, just like, oh, that's not great. But then, when he calls Mia, this is a very famous line or whatever, the kid's sister's blurring your vision. I was like, ew, that's like icky on a few different levels. Like, A, saying that she's the kid's sister, which makes her seem super young, but also B, like, the next line is like, I get off on her surveillance photos too, buddy. It's just like,
Yeah.
I know that she's a baby, but like, I'm jerking it to her. It's just like, ew, like, stop, like, just stop it.
Stop being weird.
Stop being weird.
Stop being weird!
I'm not. I'm trying. No, man. I'm just sitting
All
here.
y'all shut up. This ain't fun time.
I don't understand why Muse, he's so in the background, like he's just like the coffee boy, and then here he's just like, maybe that's why he's the coffee boy, because he can't not put his foot in his mouth.
It's a very similar situation to the guy with the Gallo 12 and the Gallo 24, right? Like, just so you were mentioning that. It's like, you're a cop that's like, oh god, I get it, you like, you're on the payroll already, but like, just stay in the back and shut up.
Yeah, and I also, the only other thing I'm just looking at now is that they say cigarette in 5 straight lines. Somebody give me a cigarette, get him a cigarette, don't give him a cigarette, just give him a cigarette, get him a cigarette, and then Tanner just goes, no! So now the only other really big thing in this minute, and this is where you have a chance to shine, we get sort of the reverse angle. So like we were looking at the kitchen one way,
Yes.
and now we're looking at the kitchen the other way. So what did you see here? And there's something that we skipped over, we sort of glossed over last time, which is a big revelation that you and I both had this minute.
Yeah, there's two things, right? Like, some stuff came into focus, so we got a bunch of things. I'm gonna run through the highlights here. It's definitely not an Arizona iced tea because it has a bottle, like a squeeze bottle top on it.
Yeah, it looks like energy drinky, sort of.
Yeah, it's like some kind of like stupid energy drink, juice, Kool-Aid type shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a pizza box. We see some Chinese takeout containers. The bag that I said looked like a bag salad, it is yellow corn chips.
Okay.
And they begin with GUI, so I don't know what brand they are, but you get like one clear in focus shot. It's definitely yellow corn chips. You can read that.
Okay, yes, I saw that.
The last thing is the box. I need you to confirm. Do you think that this is Krispy Kreme donuts? Because it really looks like a Krispy Kreme donuts box.
Let me take a look again. The thing that I wanted to make note of is that, everybody kind of has their little vice here. Like, I think Tanner's with his coffee and Bilkins with his cigar.
Ooh.
And Muse is thumbing the toothpick, right? They're like, things are getting tense that they're all like doubling down on the thing that like gets them by. And Muse has the toothpick and he throws the toothpick away, but there's the box of toothpicks basically like 4 feet from him.
Yep.
I think it might be Krispy Kreme. It kind of looks like it has like the red lettering or it's a
And it has
logo
the
at least very
dots.
similar, yeah.
And the dots on the lid, like it looks like it could definitely be a Krispy Kreme donuts box, because it's kind of an iconic box, right?
Yeah.
Like they never changed it. It definitely struck that in my head. The last cool thing that I noticed that I wanted to surprise you with, but as I was typing it in the document, I watched you type it in the document.
A little bit of a quick backstory is that when we did the last minute, if anybody looked at the document, which I don't think anybody did, if you have, email family@cageclub.me. I realized that we didn't talk about like the refrigerator and we didn't talk about the cabinets and just like in terms of those kind of things that I used to note and I didn't note this time, so I wrote those down. And from the angle we were at last time, the refrigerator looked like the stainless steel refrigerator with nothing on it. And I wrote that down. And then when I'm watching it one more time before, because you were like, I got something, I'm blacking it out. Like sort of the Bo Holden, by the way, his agent has not gotten back to me. I don't think he's going to be on the podcast, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh, we have a new angle. We can see something. Because you had blocked it out. And so it's a magnet. And I'm like, I can't tell what it is. And then they cut the close-up of Brian. We basically came to the same conclusion.
It looks like a sticky magnet that you would get for a baseball team.
Yep.
That's like the list of like games and promotions on the magnet. Is that what it looked like to you too? Yep.
It looks blue and orange, and I don't know, like, Dodgers obviously would be blue. I don't know, like, the orange, but, like, I don't know a better team. Like, it's not Angels colors. It's not, like, Lakers or Clippers colors.
Athletics, the A's.
They're way south of there. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's probably Dodgers, but, like, it's a magnetic,
Probably
like,
Dodgers.
sports calendar magnet on their fridge, and it was very, very cool.
Yeah, I know. I was amped for it. I was actually like looking on eBay to see like what a 2000 to 2001 LA Dodgers magnetic calendar looked like. Surprisingly, nobody has them. So I tried though. I tried for you guys. I did.
You did. So now the trivia question. I have two here. I don't know if either one of these is great or if you have a better one in mind. But one is, what does
Your
Brian
first one's great.
ask for when talking to
Yes.
Bilkins, Tanner, and Muse? And the second one has kind of two correct answers. Why does Brian get upset when debriefing Bilkins, Tanner, and Muse? So we could say that either Muse degrades Mia, or we could also say that, Tanner refuses to give him a cigarette.
I like the what does Brian ask for? I think that one's better. And my take would have been like, what does Tanner not let Brian have or something? But I like your question better because it's like more vague.
Because we could also, like, it doesn't even have to be items.
It could be like evidence.
Yeah, it could be
evidence.
like backup help or something, right?
Yeah, evidence, a new car.
And I think we need one more that's actually a physical thing, because I think cigarette kind of sticks out like that.
Like a coffee.
Coffee. So what does Brian ask for while talking to Bilkins, Tanner, and Muse? A new car, backup.
Does he ask for a coffee in the last one? Did I just like blank out?
In the last
minute?
minute?
Get him a coffee.
Well, that's in the first go round. They're like, they have the decaf, whatever, right?
Maybe it shouldn't be coffee then, just for clarity, like a donut.
Decaf iced cappuccinos. Okay, yeah, we could do donut.
Just because coffee is a right answer, but earlier in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yep, donut. New car, backup, cigarette, donut, evidence. Any other thoughts about minute 55? Are you going native on me, Brian?
No, it's actually a really good minute, though. I really like that one. The past two have been really nice. I like this scene a lot, and it's a scene that gets kind of blown by in the movie, and it's good that we got to break it down and watch it so much.
And it's kind of meaty. Like, it's kind of a long
it
scene.
is.
And I also do want to point out that Brian memorized Dom's file, which I'm sure is not... I mean, it depends on how big it is, but, like, have you read Toretto's file lately? Yeah, I memorized that file. And Tanner's like, well, read it again. Again, you're going native on me, Brian.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break, come back, hear a word from our sponsor from Lamborghini, and talk about the Cannonball Run.
This is episode number 88. You're gonna see some shit. This episode is brought to you not by DeLorean, but by Lamborghini, which has paused but not stopped. Even in these isolating and sad times, it is important to continue the fostering relationship with customers through the Unica app and with their fans and enthusiasts via social media channels and launching the social media campaign, Stay at Home. Thank you, Lamborghini. This episode is Cannonball Run. Sorry.
No, like, I get off, like, I'm so planned and so meticulous, and I'm so careful about so many things. 2 spoilers for upcoming episodes. So Jake's Patreon pick is Back to the Future. I realized when you said episode 88, I was like, fuck, we should have done Back to the Future this episode. That would have been so funny and so cool and so perfect. Nope. Messed that up. Also, the star of this movie is Burt Reynolds. We're doing Smokey and the Bandit later. We didn't have a Burt Reynolds week. We're just doing this separate. So, like, God damn it. Like, I'm just so disappointed for so many reasons right now. But thank you, Alex Elenin, for supporting us on Patreon and having us do this movie in the first place.
Yes.
But God damn it.
Hey, I didn't even know how many movies we had left, so I'm sorry.
I know. And, fuck. All right, whatever. It's fine. All good. Anyway, the Cannonball Run. So this movie, I will say, has a very mixed reputation. Critically, not very successful. Roger Ebert gave it 1/2 star.
Jeez.
Burt Reynolds is, like, embarrassed by it.
And Roger Ebert gave Too Fast 2
Yes.
stars. Or 3 stars, remember?
My question to everybody who doesn't like this movie is, like, what did you want it to be?
Yeah,
like,
that's true,
it's
right?
dumb, but it's fun. Like, I don't understand, like, it's not a great movie, but I had a lot of fun watching it. Like, I don't understand what you could want, like, what do you want this movie to be if you hate it?
I think you want it to be like Ocean's 11, right? Like, you want it to be like, or just like something that's not zany and weird. Like, but it was a blast.
So the movie is about, there's a race called the Cannonball Run, which is based on a real race.
Yes.
Which, have you heard of the real Cannonball race? I guess you've seen this movie before.
I didn't remember any of it. Like, I remember,
Okay.
like, couple scenes of it. That was all I remembered. Is the Cannonball Run real? Because I know that they do the Gumball every year. And I'm like, we follow that a lot. Is it based on that, or is it different, or what?
So I think they're different, because there's also a movie called the Gumball Rally.
Yes.
Which I think is based on that.
So, yeah, so
I think
Gumball
there's the
Rally.
Cannonball Run.
Yeah.
And there's trivia that I'll get to later about it. The first one, because it started in the 70s, and just, like, one guy did it, and then, like, by the end of the decade, like, hundreds of people were doing it.
Yes.
So the Cannonball Run is a cross-country race that started in New York and then has since moved to Connecticut, your neck of the woods.
Ooh,
and I think
interesting.
winds up in L.A. Everybody in the movie has a time card that they punch in, punch out, but it's the car with the shortest amount of time on their clock in, punch out, wins the race.
Yes.
And so this movie is just probably dozens of cars, or at least a dozen cars, but we're basically following like 6 different cars with like most of them with
Cameos.
2 people of note in each,
Yeah.
going from coast to coast. And there are so many stars, so many famous people in this movie.
So many.
Sorry, I copied these down from Wikipedia. I think we can go car by car and just talk about the characters a little bit that way, and then we can go to do the movie as a whole.
Cool. That works for me. I like it.
So the first one, the main people we're following, I guess, which is J.J. McClure, who's Burt Reynolds,
Yes.
and Victor Prinzi, who's Dom DeLuise.
Yes.
They drive a souped-up Dodge Tradesman ambulance. And this is actually the
Sportsman.
same type of vehicle that Hal Needham, the director, who also, by the way, Hal Needham directed Rad, which I made you
we
watch
love
Rad.
Rad. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. So he and the screenwriter of this, Brock Yates, who used to be, I think, at like Car and Driver magazine. There's more about that. I'll get to that later.
Okay.
They basically did this type of ambulance coast to coast when they did the Cannonball Run preparing for this movie.
Oh, okay. It's a good move.
Also in this ambulance, there is somebody who's basically like a wacky kind of like Frankenstein assistant.
They said they needed a doctor to like sell this story if they get pulled over.
And in case they get swamp fever.
Swamp fever? Is that what they said?
That's what they said. They said in case we get swamp fever, Dom DeLuise is like, we're going to get swamp fever. We need a doctor to fix it. But he just gets this guy, Jack Elam, who plays Dr. Nicholas Von Helsing. Who, again, like last episode, we were like, is the Cannonball Run a comedy? Yes,
It's
very
a
much a comedy.
1000% a comedy, yeah.
Jack Elam plays Dr. Van Helsing, and he's got like one stray, like a lazy eye, and he's just
Yeah.
like this crazy over-the-top doctor. He always wants to inject people with this like big hypodermic needle.
Yeah. All I could think of with the needle is that, like, how non-sterile that is. Like, especially
gross.
coming home, like, in this environment where we're, like, double glove, you know what I mean? Like, everything gets burnt and, like, autoclaved, and he's just, like, shooting this needle in the air.
Also in this ambulance is Farrah Fawcett, who is like a journalist, I think, or a photographer. She was working with this guy who was trying to stop the Cannonball Run, but she just kind of taking pictures of things. Her story is the weirdest and most vague.
It's so good, though. All she wants to do is say how much she loves trees.
She loves trees because you can kill yourself under a tree.
It's such a great scene. I love it. This is something that I would love to lead people with. I'm very, like, flippant about death a lot, so...
Because she says it in the beginning, which I think is very funny, and then she keeps trying to tell Burt Reynolds why she loves trees, and, like, she just keeps getting interrupted.
Yeah.
But she's like, I love just lying under the trees and the branches and the leaves and just being able to blow your brains out.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what?
Oh god, I said something very similar to this yesterday. I was like, I'm leaving on a jet plane. And somebody's like, you don't want to fly a plane right now. I was like, yes, I do, right into a mountain. And they were like, what? I was like, hey man, that's how I'm feeling.
Just be like, yeah, I love trees.
I
Trees are
love
the best,
trees. Man. You know what the best part about them is?
I don't even know if she has a name. They just call her Beauty?
She does. She has a name. They say
Pamela
her name.
Glover.
Yeah,
yes.
They say Pam, but he calls her Beauty like that because he goes, let me guess your name, and guesses like 4 incorrect names.
It goes on way longer than it ever should, and it's so funny.
Dude, did this not seem like the most fun set to be on?
This is the craziest thing about so, like, I was saying to you before we started recording, like, I didn't take very many notes.
Same.
And I was comparing it to the movie, where I was like, this movie it's 91 minutes long. I looked, I'm like, they're nowhere near, like, they just pull up to this, like, biker bar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how much, and there's 15 minutes of the movie left. I'm like, how do they get from here to the end of the race in any kind of semblance of story? And, like,
I don't
spoiler, they don't give a shit. They're just
they don't
like,
care.
oh,
no.
They do this whole bar scene, and then they're like, oh, cool, we're 10 blocks from the end, and then they get to the end, and then nobody crosses the finish line except for the Lambo girls, we'll get to. But, like, this movie does not care about its story at all. It's just, like, people hanging out, like, famous people hanging out, and, like, the names that we have not gotten to yet are insane.
I looked down at my phone, and I looked back up, and I go, Rachel, who won the race? She's like, the Lamborghini. I was like, oh, damn, I missed it in the time that I looked down and looked up and was like, what the hell just happened there?
So Dom DeLuise, Victor Prinzi, also plays Captain Chaos, where he's just like this luchador wrestler kind of guy with a cape. Like, he just, like, wants to do crazy shit.
Yeah, man. Send it.
So, yeah, so they're in the ambulance, in the souped-up ambulance, and everybody basically gets pulled over at least once, and they have some cool interactions. They get pulled over by the cops because they're just like, we got to get her to the hospital. They're like, there's no hospital 50 miles from here. They're like, which hospital are you bringing her to? Like, UCLA. They're like, wait, what? Like, in LA? Like, yeah, she can't fly. And then that's when Dr. Van Helsing comes out and is just like, she's got this problem with her heart and she can't fly. And they're like, oh, no, okay, yeah.
But he becomes like a real serious doctor for like 0.3 seconds because he's like on
exactly
drugs.
The length that he needs to be.
Yeah, he like totally makes it.
Any other thoughts about that? I mean, we can come back to them later, but before we go to the next
I don't want to skimp over the part that they fly the plane in to get more beers.
Just to pick up a sixer. Oh, don't park it. I'll be right back. I'll be right out.
Yeah. It's just like, and they just like land it in the middle of the street. I was like, God, this movie's like that's like very early in the movie. And I'm like, this is a blast. Like, just from the jump.
So they do like 3 things, like, not to that extreme, but like they do 3 things like very early on where like they're just getting into like, and I don't know what the time frame is. They're in the one car that they like are coming up against a police blockade, and they swerve around it, and the car gets fucked up and then falls into a ditch.
It's a Porsche, yeah.
Yeah, the next scene is like them in the plane, landing the plane, and then almost literally the next scene is them on a boat ramming into another boat, and then that's when they're in the ambulance.
The whole time they're trying to figure out what car they need to take to complete it, and they're just like crashing every vehicle that they're in.
It's only when they crash the boat that they're like, oh, and also, by the way, the guy in the back of the ambulance, when they bring them to the hospital or whatever, is the director. It's Hal Needham. He's in the movie like 3 or 4 times.
Okay, cool.
They're like, oh yeah, we can do like 120 miles an hour because like just people like clear the way. They're like, oh, this is what we need.
It's a genius plan for 2 morons. I love it.
So the next duo is in a red Ferrari 308 GTS 1979. This is Dean and Sammy. Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr.
Also, do you know that like I'm a huge Dean Martin fan? I really love Dean Martin a lot. He was born the day before me.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was. He's a June 7th baby. I'm June 8th along with Kanye.
So I think, if I read this right, that he's also, I think, in the Cannonball Run 2, and these are his last 2 movies, though.
Yeah, he's looking a little old, right?
Yeah.
He's definitely getting older.
Dean and Sammy from the Rat Pack, from the original Ocean's 11 everything, they're both in here. They're both dressed like priests for some reason. I don't fully understand why.
I don't know either. It's like part of their shtick, I guess. When he said something, this was like one of the only notes I took, is when he said, like, they're doing the Lord's work. And he's like, but they're in a Ferrari. And he's like, yeah, but they're still doing the Lord's work. You could do the Lord's work in a Ferrari. You just do it faster. And I just like, and I thought of like all of these like mega churches, their pastor being like, I need this new jet to do the Lord's work faster. And I'm like, you stole that from this fucking movie. Like that's the whole joke to that punchline is that. And they're like, yeah, that makes sense.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it really made me laugh. I like that one a lot.
Oh, actually here, so the reason I guess they're dressed as priests is because they're based on an entry in the 1972, the real 1972 race, in which 3 men disguised as priests, they call themselves the Flying Fathers, drove a Mercedes 280 SEL, which they claim to be the Monsignor's car, belonging to an ecumenical council of prelates in California.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah, because you need like a good like cop story. Like, look, you know you're gonna get pulled over on this race, right? So like you need to either be hot, like a beautiful woman.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a funny story to like make the cop laugh, or you need to be very convincing in your excuse, right? So like you need one of these 3 things to survive this and not like go to jail or like lose your license. Dressing up as a priest, like that could be like a serious story, and when the cop's like, you're full of shit, you're like, I know. You know, like, we just dressed as priests, so we're driving this car. It's like,
I also think it's funny, like, in the beginning of the movie, they're like, we've got 10,000 state troopers, coast to coast, that know the cannonball is happening, and they're going to be out to get you. And then not a single one of the people who pulls them over is just like, are you cannonballers? Like, they're all just like, what are you driving so fast for? It's like, everybody's supposed to know.
no, I think that's more of, like, putting themselves higher than they are type thing, you know what I mean? Like, an
Gotcha.
amping for the announcement, like, every cop is on the lookout for you. And it's like, no, realistically, like, nobody knows that this is happening, or like only a few of them.
For sure. I also really liked when Dean and Sammy are in the bar. So like they all go to this inn. They call it like the Cannonball Inn or whatever the night before, right? And there's like a bar in there, and they're in there, and there's like these like 3 or 4 hot women all hitting on one guy. And they're just talking. There's like this guy drinking next to them. They're like, man, like if we were Methodists, we could really get laid tonight. And this guy's just like spitting out his drink. He's just like, cannot believe what these 2 ostensibly priests are saying. Man, they're just so good.
It's great, man. Oh, yeah. The Methodist joke got me too. I like that too. Or he's like, she's a Buddhist monk. He's like, we specialize in blessing Buddhists. Like that's our specialty. Like you. I liked it a lot.
They like fuck over the ambulance. They mess with Burt Reynolds and everything, and then like Burt Reynolds, like when he gets pulled over, he's like, "Look, there's a Ferrari coming behind these guys. They're armed and they're dressed like priests. They're like,
and they're flashers."
The guy's like, "Thank you." Yeah.
they flashed this girl into a fit, and that's why she's in the back of our ambulance.
The next one, the black Lamborghini Countach, shout out again Lamborghini for sponsoring this episode, is Jill Rivers, who's played by Tara Buckman, and Marcy Thatcher, Adrienne Barbeau.
Yes.
2 attractive women who use their looks to their advantage. Weird story about them. Again, this is a very Giselle thing, and also just a very, like, hey, let's treat women better in movies. They are never named in this movie.
Nice.
They are both presumed to return in the next movie, but they're both new actresses. So it's like, we think it's the same couple who won, not the couple, but the 2 people who won the first race. But they're named in the second movie. It's like, well, are they the same people? Like, who knows? Who knows? Also, I do want to, hold on, I need to get the right thing because it was wonderful. The character who pulls them over, so like their whole thing is every time they get pulled over, they just like unzip their like
shirts,
unitards, right? And they just have like deep cleavage. And she's like, oh, let me get my driver's license, right? And so at the end of the movie, they finally get pulled over again. She's like, look, I got this one. But then they get pulled over by this woman, right?
Yes.
The woman, the female cop, is credited as her character name. Female cop pulling over Lamborghini babes is her character name.
Yeah, because they don't even want to name her in the credits.
Nobody's named. No one's named.
Yeah, man.
Female cop pulling over Lamborghini babes.
1981.
Man, oh man, what a time to be alive. They don't really have, I mean, they win the race. They've got a cool looking car.
Their personalities in this movie are cleavage. That's
Yeah.
That's it. We see it 3 times, and we're like, okay, cool. That was it. That's enough.
Yeah. In the next car, in the Subaru GL 4-wheel drive hatchback with a rocket booster engine, is Jackie Chan and Michael Hui.
Yeah, like, holy fuck. When Jackie Chan was in this movie, I was like, what the fuck? And he's like 20. He's like 25 at the most, right?
I actually have no idea. Jackie Chan
he looks
was
really
born
young.
in 54, so he would have been like 25, 26, 27.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I had a real like weird moment of like, wait, am I racist? Like again, like our accidental racism because like in this movie they say like the Japan's #1 race car driver, and I'm like,
Yeah, go ahead. I thought this
he's not
too.
Japanese.
Is
and I was
he?
like, and I googled. It's like, oh no, he's very not Japanese. But then
Yes, that's what I thought. Okay, same. I did the exact same thing.
they cut to the next person. They're like, oh, it's Japan's #1 box office star. I'm like, well, why don't you like flip? I don't. What? Like what? He's the movie star. Maybe not by. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I agree with you. But no, I did the exact same thing. Especially because we were just talking about Johnny Tran. That when I saw Jackie Chan in this movie and it was like the Japanese, I was like, he's not Japanese. And I was like, never. I don't know. I don't even know. I'm not going to say anything about it. So
No.
I'm glad you checked.
I mean,
Thank you.
that's one thing that today that like when, and this is something I think that like Lost kind of changed, is that like when they cast Sun and Jin, who are a Korean couple on the show, they wanted to get actual Korean actors as opposed to just like, oh yeah, they look Korean, you know
Or
what I mean?
just
Like, it's
make them a
important.
Chinese couple.
Exactly.
Or make them a Japanese couple. Like,
Right.
why would you change their race for them?
Today, modern day like representation, like there's a lot more where like they cast an actor who actually is of that ethnicity, but like
Or just
back then,
say
like,
the ethnicity is of the actor. Just like
oh
use
yeah,
that.
he's Asian. Like it's like I guess it's one step up from being like #1 Oriental. Like it's just like no, like you can't say that. So like I guess at least you give him a country, but even if it's the wrong country, I don't know, man. But like, whoo boy.
Yeah.
2 fun facts about Jackie Chan: one in movie, then one trivia. In the movie, I like that he just starts watching porn toward the end and just crashes his car.
Yeah, just in his car.
Just puts the VHS in and just like, oh,
What is it
like,
called?
ooh,
The
okay.
green room, right?
Yeah. The cool thing is that this is the first movie he was ever on where like the director put bloopers in the credits, and he loved it. And so because of that, he then started putting bloopers in all of his movies in the credits. So like because of this movie, now every Jackie Chan movie that you
Rush
see ends
Hour.
with bloopers because of this.
That makes so much sense, and that's a very cool fact that I never
Right?
knew. That's an awesome fact. Yeah, I like that.
The next car is the street legal replica of Donnie Allison's Hawaiian Tropic sponsored NASCAR Winston Cup Series Chevrolet stock car. It
Okay.
starts off as a 75-76 Laguna, and then Wikipedia says after they paint it, it somehow becomes a 76-77 Monte Carlo. So it goes from one car to the other.
Perfect.
But this is driven by Mel Tillis, who I don't know I know the name. Oh, he's a country music star.
Okay.
And
Go ahead, say it.
former Steelers quarterback, 4-time Super Bowl champion Terry Bradshaw.
The greatest quarterback of all time.
I mean, sure,
I mean, Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw.
Tom Brady, but whatever.
Who's
you know.
that?
I don't know. Tampa Bay. But yeah, like I'm just like Terry. Like why is Terry? Like Terry. Like the iconic image in my head in this is he just like puts so much dip in his mouth at one point. I'm like, okay,
I know, just a
Go
giant
for it,
side
man.
wrap of Red Man, right? I
Yeah.
like this because I was like, obviously, I follow the Steelers, and I was like reading an article not too long ago that like Terry Bradshaw said he felt like at some points disrespected in Pittsburgh because they wanted him to like ham up his southernness, right? To like
Okay.
to like play like a dumb cowboy. And in this movie, he plays a dumb cowboy.
exactly.
So I'm like, bro, what were you mad about? Like, you picked this role. Like, make a stand for yourself and be like, no, bro, like, I'm gonna be like the smartest cowboy. And like, but no, he plays a dumb cowboy. And it's like, why did everybody think I was a dumb cowboy? Like, well, we all watched this movie, bud. Like, that's what happened. And also, you're kind of a dumb cowboy, so that's. Shout out Terry Bradshaw if you're listening. Please come on, tell us about this movie.
I'm gonna skip one for now because it's the craziest one. It's my favorite one.
Go ahead.
But then we get to the Middle Eastern sheik who's driving a
Yes.
white Rolls Royce Silver Shadow. He's not super important.
Do you know what I'm recognizing him from?
No.
MASH.
Oh, okay.
The character in MASH that always pretends to be transgendered person.
He's Klinger.
And Klinger, his whole shtick is like Catch-22, that he pretends to be transgendered because he knows that they won't let him in the army if he's transgendered. So he like always like dresses up like a girl and he's like, send me home, send me home, send me home. And they're like, you're lying. We like it's like the Catch-22 thing, right? Like,
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, he's not super important in this
No.
movie. He just does a few things here or there. But the craziest one,
Go ahead.
Roger Moore, a.k.a. James Bond, plays Seymour Goldfarb Jr., who is heir to the Goldfarb girdle's fortune.
Yes.
But he pretends that he's Roger Moore,
And
he
plays
signs into the
James
race
Bond.
under that name. He drives an Aston Martin DB5.
Yes.
Everything he does is James Bond. Like, he's basically playing...
Oh my god.
It's
I know.
It's amazing.
I was like, can you imagine if we had like a movie today that this happened in? Like, we get like cameos, we get crossovers and stuff like that. This is a movie where this guy where Roger Moore is playing a character pretending to be Roger Moore. And then just like kind of turns a point like after like that joke is over in 5 minutes and just becomes James Bond. They remind you every couple minutes that it's not actually James Bond. It's just this guy pretending to be Roger Moore. And like everything he does, he's like, yeah, like Roger Moore, that's my name, sign it. And like stuff like that.
Like, there's certain things like like being John Malkovich.
Yes.
There's things that like were built around it, but like it's rare that like in an otherwise everyone's a character and then you're basically playing yourself as your most famous character. The only thing I can think of that's even like remotely close, and
What?
it's not to this extent, is at one point in Ocean's 12, Julia
Yes.
Roberts plays Julia Roberts.
Yes, I agree with you. Yep.
Again, it's not this because it's not. She's kind of making fun of herself a little bit, but like this is like a whole. It's the entire movie.
Yes, it's the entire movie.
Every time they cut back to his car, he's got a different woman in there. He's got this whole like array of things, and like this one woman wants to smoke a cigarette. He's like, no, not that one. And then by the end, we finally get the ejecto-seato, cuz
Yes, we do.
that there's the ejector seat with the Bond car. So like, it's just amazing.
It was great. It's one of my favorite parts. Like when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, damn, it's Roger Moore." And his mom's like, "Why are you pretending to do this? Like, why did I find this tape under your bed?" And they play the James Bond theme music the entire.
Yeah.
Like every time you see him, it's like dun 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 dun.
So there's supposedly like this thing where Bond actors sign some kind of waiver that they're not going to make fun of Bond and things. Like there's like this whole history of like the Bond property being treated with like the utmost like
Yes.
care and seriousness. But like I don't know how this happened because like this is very clearly. I guess I don't know. I don't know.
Because it's like somebody pretending to be Bond badly, but he was really actually James Bond. I don't get it, man. They might have written that clause like after this movie, like we have to stop doing this. Like,
And then there's like another one that wasn't on Wiki. There's like two like young dudes who are like kind of in a pickup truck, and they just seem to be like jumping over things from time to time.
they're a lot of fun though. And they like
Yeah.
pick like different accents at different points for no reason, which I
Yeah.
kind of liked. Like those were two dudes that I was like, yeah, I'd probably be rolling with those guys. They seem like they're fun.
Yeah. So before we get into the movie, I have a very philosophical question that ties right into the Fastiverse. I didn't do any advanced research here. I didn't think about this in advance because I wanted to do it spur of the moment with you. You might have even had this thought. If the family was doing the Cannonball Run, what cars do you think would have the best success? Like, which tag team, 2 people or maybe 3 people, do you think we could put in a car that would be the best at like chemistry-wise and racing-wise? Who's best together at getting across country?
I think Dom and Letty win instantly.
Okay.
Hands down favorites. I can't see them not winning. They have a long history of winning. They're the greatest team. I mean, they're one, right? Because we assume that they're a team of 2, right?
Right.
Second team gotta be Han and Giselle. They're pretty calculated.
Yeah.
They plan well,
She seems like maybe the best driver out of any of them.
right? From what we've seen. So like, I think that Giselle and Han are the logical second.
Okay, so
places.
here's a follow-up question. Are there any non-romantic relationship couples?
This is where I was going next. Roman and Brian. Because Dom doesn't let Mia go.
Okay.
And Mia has the kids.
I feel like Roman on a 30 or 30 plus hour road trip is gonna like get into some like he's like, no, Brian, we got such a lead. We can stop here for the night. Like we can just like look at those
Flirts
honeys
with
over there."
girls.
Yeah.
I agree, but I also think he has the charisma to get them out of things too.
Okay. Good point.
So like on the reciprocal, like as much as he's getting them into trouble, it's a wash because he's getting them out of trouble on the back
Okay.
end too. And also like, he and Brian work well together. So I think as a team, those two, Brian is a decent driver, right? So like I think that they come in 3. Who's 4? What's your
Who do you
next
think?
couple?
So here's a different way to do this. Who do you think would give Hobbs the best chance of winning? It's not Shaw.
No, Hobbs' best chance of winning. Elena?
Maybe.
I would say Elena's his best partner.
Or Monica Fuentes.
Monica Fuentes.
Although we never see her drive.
She only rides in the car, but she would be a damn good passenger. I'd let her be my 13-hour road trip passenger any day.
Do the stare and drive the entire way across the country.
I probably would.
Could Tej and
Tej got to be with Ramsey, right?
maybe.
Or Suki. Tej
Okay.
and Suki would be a good team. And Tej is a good candidate because he's actually a mechanic, right?
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that they're all driving, like, famous cars. And, like, at this point, I don't assume any of their cars would break down.
They don't need to get gas.
They don't ever need to get gas or shower. I think, like, maybe, like, Dom's Charger, but Dom obviously knows how to work on his Charger. Brian,
Right.
has built some race cars, too, so I'm not too worried about them. Han and Giselle, for sure. Han had a garage, right? So
Yep.
that makes sense. You got to put like one mechanic with every team.
Yeah, so maybe Hobbs and Elena together is not a good idea because I don't know if either of them. Like they're both very well qualified, but I don't know if either of them can fix. I guess Hobbs does well.
Hobbs has Hobbs Customs. He grew up around cars, right? His brother
Oh,
has
that's very true. Or do we do Luke and Jonah?
Oh,
A couple of Usos in the car.
couple Usos. Yeah, they definitely get a run. I definitely think they'd make a run too. But I think they'd be the guys jumping, like the truck jumping over everything. Like they'd be having fun.
Do you think
What?
Hattie? Who would Hattie be best with?
Dex, right? Gotta be
Oh,
Dex.
yeah, okay.
Gotta be her brother, right? Like they'll fight
Yeah.
about it the whole time, but like those two, like
Once again, Owen gets left out.
yeah, poor Owen, man. Owen gets to ride with his mom.
Yeah.
With
okay.
Helen Mirren. Yeah, that's who it is. It's Owen and his mom because she's always like, come on. And then she's just like chasing behind. She's calling Hattie and Deck to be like, slow down. Like, we're coming right behind you.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess the obvious things are the romantic relationships, but I was just like, I could definitely see a version of this where like they're all doing this for fun or something, right? Like not even a entire movie,
yeah.
but like we're doing this anyway.
Yeah, like a non-heist road trip. Like
Yeah.
they've done so many heists on the road. Like, why not them be like, oh, we're just racing as teams here.
Yeah, but the closest I think we probably get to this is like the caravan in Seven, right? Where they all like roll up through like into Abu Dhabi or whatever. Like they're all in their
Yeah.
separate cars, but they're not racing. They're just driving together separately. I want to say that like I was in love with this movie from the very beginning when they had the 20th Century Fox where the cartoon car escapes from the police car and then hides in the Zero in the 20th and then like laughs at the cop car after it crashes. I was like, this is amazing.
I started this movie this afternoon, and then I got like 5 or 10 minutes into it, and I was like, I can't do this right now. I'm gonna wait and like do it later. When I turned it on, because I was like, okay, Rachel's gonna watch it with me now. I turned it on and I like, paused it. And I was like, Rachel, wait, you have to see this part. And like I totally forgot that movies used to do stuff like that. Like having an alternate intro is so weird. I get it now. We have like all the Marvel ones have kind of their own intro and stuff like that. But this was like every movie started out with like Fox, like bum ba da da, you know, like the normal thing. So to see this cartoony version, I was like, this is the coolest thing I've seen in a long time.
Apparently 20th Century Fox didn't want that because they felt like it would sort of tarnish their
Yes.
brand, but they realized after the fact that like it was done so well, they're like, no, this is great. Like I loved it from that point.
Yeah, same. I was so sold.
We just talked about this on Cruise Club a couple episodes ago of Oblivion, because in Oblivion, the sci-fi futuristic Tom Cruise movie, after aliens have ravaged Earth, the Universal logo comes around, and like there's a space station in the sky, and like the Earth is like broken and stuff, and like it's
Yeah.
a very cool thing. And we also talked about on that episode in Happy Death Day, which is another Universal movie, which I love, which is a Groundhog Day horror version, where like it starts the Universal like the dun dun dun, and then it goes back and starts again, and then it goes back and it starts again, and like
That's
just
awesome.
The
Yep.
very little simple touch of like messing with the things that people take for granted. It's just like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, you can play into the you can make it fresh but also make it iconic still, you know what I mean? Like, and especially I like the idea that you have something that's like so repetitive, so etched into your brain. If you start to change anything, you're like, "Oh shit." Like you notice it even more. So,
Yes. Like the first like 10 or 15 minutes of this movie or whatever, I'm like, I think it's like, especially at the opening, I'm like, it's kind of a comedy, but then like we follow the Lambo around and like they're just like spray painting
Yeah.
speed limit signs and everything. I'm like, this might be like kind of like a serious movie with like some comedic elements. And then at one point, Burt Reynolds hits his head on the open roof of his car, and it like does like a wacky sound effect, like a doink. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
and he's talking about
now
the
I know what this
hamsters.
is.
His hamster is sick.
Dom DeLuise is like, well, what if we win it for them or whatever? Like, just what? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I was like, it was like in that scene where they're in the garage, where I was like, oh no, I know exactly what this movie is.
Yep, exactly. And it's a lot of fun. Like from that moment on, I loved it.
Another connection we talked about last movie that we see again here is that a cop car gets knocked into the river.
Yep, every time.
Once
dude.
again, every time.
It's like a staple of all of these movies, including the Fast and Furious movies. I had a cool fascination. When they're in the back of the ambulance and they're like stopped for some reason, Farrah Fawcett's sitting in the back of the ambulance, Burt Reynolds comes back and they they're talking and she's like, you kidnapped me, whatever. And he's like, no, we're like, we're racers. And she's like, why would you like do all this thing? And he's like, for the hell of it. And it was like such like a Dom answer. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, why? For the thrill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
There's another fascination, sort of, kind of, at least something that's referenced, is that after Jackie Chan crashes the car when they're watching porn, or he starts watching porn,
Yes.
the car then flies, and I was like, oh, and Jack saying cars don't fly, it's like, well, you didn't see Cannonball Run, because cars can fly, apparently.
Yeah, they have rocket
But like
engines.
it never comes back. It's just like, oh, they flew for a little bit and like that was it.
Well, they use the rocket when they're like stuck too.
Right.
Yeah.
Then of course we have Peter Fonda as the chief biker, and this is what I mentioned last time. I'm like, because he's like 12th build or something, but he comes back as this guy who's just like picking on people, like again toward the end of the movie. But it was cool to see Jackie Chan like do his like headstand,
Yes.
kick him in the face a bunch of times, like very cool.
When we first started watching this, I was like, Rachel, why is Jackie Chan in this movie? And then we got to like the fight scene, and Jackie Chan has like a full like fight scene in it. I was like, that's why you have Jackie Chan in this movie. And like, and if you have Jackie Chan in this movie, you better add this to this movie, because like, why wouldn't you use Jackie Chan's potential in any movie like that and give him at least one like karate scene, right?
Like I'm sort of surprised in that regard that like Terry Bradshaw never throws something like a football.
You do get the shot of him like getting out of the pool, and also Terry Bradshaw sang country music too.
Okay.
Like, I mean, not well or anything like that, but like you think that they would have like given him his lifetime, do this movie and we'll let you sing half a song in it. You know what I mean? Like something like that. Especially if you have
Right.
like, if you're riding with a country music artist, like he could have done it.
And then my only other note before we get to the trivia, and then talk about your notes too and everything like that. But I think we covered so much with when we went through with the racers
Yeah.
is it ends when they get to the end and Burt Reynolds tackles the entire group as Captain Chaos runs ahead, but then he sees a woman in peril and she's like, save my baby, and he goes and jumps in the water and then pulls out a wet dog, and then the Lamborghini woman wins. But like they don't even show her winning, I don't think. It's just like she just goes, like she's the only one who actually goes. It's like, oh
Yeah.
sure, like the race doesn't matter. It's literally, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. It's just like, how do we get from point A to point B? Who cares who wins? It's just like, we're going to follow these lunatics across country.
These things are really cool though, and these exist, and that is like the whole part of like why you would do something like this, right? Like the winning doesn't matter. These are like caravans of partying, right? Like I know like the gumballs like that, like they stop in like cities different nights and stuff like that. It's mostly for the fun of like you hanging out with your friend. Nobody really cares who wins, right? Like nobody remembers who won what year. Like you might have a trophy or whatever, like brag about it, but it's not like, that's not the point of it. The point of it's the journey.
Did you have any other notes or any other fast connections? Because again, like I kind of didn't take a lot of notes because I was just enjoying it. But any other thoughts about the movie?
That's precisely why I didn't take a lot of notes. I think we covered a lot of good fast connections, but I didn't take them because I was just having fun watching the movie. It was really zany and fun to me, and I love this pick. It was great.
So this movie was a wild financial success. Like it did not do well critically, but it made $11 million its opening weekend, which was the fourth highest grossing of all time. Wow. However, it opened the same weekend as Superman 2, which opened with $14 million, which was the most of all time.
It was a good weekend for movies, huh?
Very good weekend for movies. So Cannonball Run made $72 million in the US and Canada, making the sixth highest grossing film of the year, behind Raiders of the Lost Ark, On Golden Pond, Superman 2, Arthur, and Stripes. So, like, big year for movies.
It was Stripes,
big weekend
too?
especially.
Yeah. Damn.
Farrah Fawcett was nominated for a Razzie for Worst Supporting Actress, but she did not win or lose or whatever. She did not earn the award.
How is she the worst supporting actress? It's actually a fun character, right?
It is a fun character. I don't know, because the Razzies are dumb. I don't like the Razzies, but like I don't know. She's great. I mean, she's great in her. Like she's supposed to play an airhead. Like what do you want from her? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, she's playing aloof, right? And like this like weird hippie like journalist. Yeah, I liked it. I wouldn't say, I'm sure that there was movies that had worse supporting actresses this year.
Almost certainly. I think they also kind of go for like the obvious ones, like the popular. I don't know, whatever. The full name of the event is the Cannonball Baker Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash, which was organized by Brock Yates to protest the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit then in effect in the U.S. Cannonball was named for Irwin G. Cannonball Baker, who in the 20s rode his motorcycle across the country. Many characters are based on the ruses developed by real Cannonball racers over the years when the event was run.
It makes perfect sense.
Apparently, the plot is used in the Need for Speed: The Run from 2011. So I guess they're getting from one coast to the other coast. That's kind of cool, pretty cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The main role, the Burt Reynolds role, was originally envisioned for Steve McQueen, but then when he died, it went to Burt Reynolds, and it went from being an action movie to a comedy, which is kind of crazy.
That tracks, though.
Yeah, because like you can imagine like the bullet just like we're dead. Like it's almost like Vanishing Point, right? It's just like we're getting across country, but then it's just like, oh no, like we got Burt Reynolds, like let's just be a bunch of goofballs.
Yeah, exactly.
So Burt Reynolds said, "I did that film for all the wrong reasons. I never liked it. I did it to help out a friend of mine, Hal Needham, the director.
Okay.
And I also felt it was immoral to turn down that kind of money. I suppose I sold out, so I couldn't really object to what people wrote about me. I don't know, man.
But
It's fun.
It's a fun movie. Burt Reynolds wasn't this fucking film actor. You know what I mean? So like, what are you putting your nose up about, bud? Like,
Yeah. Actually, is Hal Needham... So Hal Needham also directed Smokey and the Bandit, also with Burt Reynolds, and he also did in the beginning of that one, if we, wink wink, get to that movie sometime soon, there's another animated opening logo for
cool.
Universal Pictures when they do that one.
Nice.
So we have to keep an eye out for that one at some point. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Don Rickles was originally cast as the Sammy Davis Jr. part, but then the part went to Sammy Davis. So that's...
Sammy Davis was great in it. I love this.
Yes. Oh, so this is kind of cool. So the director, Hal Needham, and producer Al Ruddy liked Terry Bradshaw and Mel Tillis together so much that they tried to sell a pilot to ABC featuring their characters. The head of the network loved the idea. The day before a meeting was supposed to happen, the head of the network was fired and the project got canceled. So, like, it never saw the light of day, but there was almost a TV show just about those two guys.
That would have been a lot of fun to see, actually. Imagine if Terry Bradshaw would have been like a real actor.
Because he won the 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. When did he retire? Was he retired by this point?
I would think so. Before the 80s, I think.
Terry Bradshaw's final season was 83. No, he was still playing at this point.
Jeez. Very strange. I thought he was retired. Early 80s, yeah.
So the Cannonball Run pub restaurant in the Village
Yes.
is actually in Wyoming, New York, which apparently I did not know there was a Wyoming, New York. The restaurant's been closed for several years, but used to host annual reunions of the drivers who participated in the event. So I guess even though it wasn't open anymore, they still were like, hey, let's meet there and just hang out there.
Yeah, and party in the parking lot or something.
Yep.
Bet the cops love that.
Here's the backstory for the race. So the real race was held 4 times in the 70s. The screenwriter was automotive journalist Brock Yates, who had conceived the real-life event.
Okay.
He originally proposed the race as a writer for Car and Driver. The race had one rule. All competitors will drive any vehicle of their choosing over any route at any speed they judge practical, which I think is a very nice way of not saying, as fast as they can.
Yes.
Between the starting point and destination, the competitor finishing with the lowest elapsed time is the winner. Which, I mean, they explain that very well in the movie, too. Like, the movie just doesn't care about the rules, but, it's the same thing in the movie, which I think is very, very smart. So the first time they did it was in 1971. His team was the only team that did it. Ernest Cannonball Baker, when he did it on the motorcycle, made it in 60 hours. Yates, who wrote this screenplay, wrote a book about it called The Sunday Driver.
Okay.
They were going to make a movie in 73 about it, I think, at some point. They didn't make it, but then the race inspired the unrelated films Cannonball and The Gunball Rally. So those are both similar but different, I guess. They're inspired by but not related to this.
Okay. That makes sense, because I was wondering, because Gumball is the same thing. So it was probably Cannonball actually happened. Gumball Rally, the movie came out. People started doing the Gumball Rally, and then Cannonball Run came out. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. So in March 79, Yates once again formed a team. There were 46 teams this time. This is when he partnered up with Hal Needham to drive the 150-mile-per-hour van converted into an ambulance.
Yes.
With LA doctor Lyle Royer and Brock's second wife, Pamela Reynolds, riding as his patient on the gurney.
Yes.
The ambulance never made the finish line. The transmission gave out 50 miles short. Yates made it to the movie as a race official and Needham as an EMT, as did the ambulance itself and even the transmission failure. Ambulance was stopped once in Pennsylvania. The event made it into the movie, as did a cop stopping traffic in Kansas, exiting from a rodeo to let the ambulance pass unimpeded.
Yes.
So the 2 women was actually based on race driver. Oh, so it was 2 women, but one of the women's husband was racing in another entry in a Cadillac limo.
Okay, so it was husband, wife team, but 2 separate teams.
I guess so, yeah.
That makes sense.
There was an auto writer wrote about the thing, but the auto writer failed to write about the fact that there was, at one point, the limo overturned, and I guess they had a toilet in there, and the green fluid, the porta potty and the toilet just got everywhere on all the girls and everything like that. So
Yuck. Ugh.
Yuck.
There's a cool thing that I want to tell you about. They do a version of this, right? They actually, I forget what the one's called, but I know that they do another one called, Le Mans, right? We watched.
Yes. Yeah.
Ford
versus Ferrari. Yep.
Ford versus Ferrari. They do a 24-hour of lemons. I don't think this one's cross country. It might be a race, a circuit race. But they do 2 of these with premises that you have to buy a car for under $500, and you do the same race with a car, but the max you can spend on it is $500.
Okay.
So it's the same journey fun time, but you have to buy a really shitty beater to
That's
race
very funny.
across country with your
I like
friends.
that.
So like if you don't have like a Lamborghini because like Gumball is like very exotic, fancy cars and like celebrities and stuff like that. There's like a group of dudes that are like, oh, we want to do this, but do more of a Cannonball Run type of way, somewhere in between. That like you have to do it with shitty cars and like you have to fix your own car and like the cars die and like everything like this. And so
My friend and I had a very underwhelming dream that we never did, where we wanted to go to Texas and buy like a really shitty, like basically like a lemon car, right? But like
Yes.
an old like 80s thing with like a tape deck, and then just like drive at night across the desert, like listening to like synthwave, and then just like wherever the car died, just like leave it there, and then just like fly home. And it's just like the kind of just like live like in an 80s movie, or like live in Drive. When the car dies, and just get back however you want to get back.
yeah, just fuck it, leave it there.
Yeah.
Call an Uber
Yeah.
right to the middle of the desert. Just,
Exactly. Come pick us up. Yeah, and it's going to be $400 to get here. It's fine, because we can't get out anywhere.
yeah, that would be fun.
Did you have any other thoughts? Any other notes about the Cannonball Run?
I think we covered everything that I liked about it. And for not having notes, we covered a lot. So
Yeah, this has been a good lap so far in terms of patron picks. We had Two Lane Blacktop.
Damn,
we
yeah.
had this. We're going to have, like I mentioned earlier, Back to the Future. And what was the fourth one? Nick picked The Hollywood Nights, another great one.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, we're 3 for 3, and of course, we love Back to the Future. I'm assuming you love it, because like nobody doesn't love Back to the Future.
I know, man. I know. Yeah, I'm
So,
stoked for it.
Yeah, so this has been a very good lap. So again, if you are a $10 patron, you either have 1 or 2 picks next lap, depending on when you signed up. Mm-hmm. So make sure you get those in, family@cageclub.me, or you probably talk to us in some other fashion, so just hit us up how you hit us up. But everybody gets a second pick. And, it's going to be good, because, like, these picks, like, who knew that coronavirus was going to happen? We might have done more of this anyway. I don't know. But, like, what we got already, like, they're great. They're really good movies.
They're all really fun, man, and I'm actually glad that we got to do all. I said this to you before. That, like, I'm glad that we got to do all, like, a lot of the classic car movies all in one batch,
Yeah.
right? It's fun
Yeah.
to watch them, compare them, and like get like a nice swath of them all at once. It actually did work out for us. I'm kind of happy about it. So.
Yeah, for sure. Like we said last episode, the next episode is going to be like a secret thing. Nothing to watch if you do watch along. Tune in on Friday and enjoy. And then on Friday we will announce next week. But of course, next week is going to have Tokyo Drift. So if you're looking for something to watch between now and Friday, just
Join
put on
us.
Tokyo Drift early. Yeah.
Oh, or
Also,
no, you should have joined us on.
Yeah, hopefully you have joined us in the past.
Yeah, in the past.
For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Become our 12th patron. Become part of the Gallo 12. Be immortalized in history at TooFast2Forever.com. Come back Friday for a special bonus episode. Come back next week for Tokyo Drift and another special movie. Just send us an email, say hi, let us know how you're doing in quarantine. I'm Joey Lewandowski,
I'm Joe too.
and we'll see you next time right here on Too Fast, Too Forever. Peace out. Anus.